Today, we are ranking every division in the NFL. The ball is on the 25, and it is 1st and 10. Welcome back to the show. Today, as I just mentioned, we got an awesome episode for you guys. We're ranking every single division from worst to best in the NFL, and also giving you a preview within those divisions, a deep dive. Who are the contenders? Who are the playoff contenders? Who's on the decline? A full deep dive across the board. But before we do all that, which is going to be very fun, Metro, sir, my co-host, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. As you mentioned, we're going to be doing our rankings, ranking them 1 through 8, which division's the best, which one's the worst. And along the way, we wanted to kind of give you guys a bit of a preview as for what the divisions might look like in 2025 to kind of help explain our rankings. So I'm going to put on screen right now a chart of every single category that we are using to rank these. The categories are teams on the rise, teams that are steady, and teams on the decline. Teams on the rise are usually your rebuilding teams or teams that just have a lot of young talent that are still developing. Teams that are steady are usually either your contending teams or just teams that are kind of in a weird position. And then teams on the decline are teams that are just getting worse. Then we got the young or old category. This is going to be you're either a young team or you're an older team or you're a team that's kind of all in their prime right now. And we're going to kind of rank this in terms of like the entire division. So obviously there's young players in each division, but we're going to kind of categorize it per division. We're going to talk about the future, which, you know, you either have a bright future, a bad future, or just kind of a future. We'll talk about each division, how many Super Bowl contenders they have, as well as how many playoff contenders they have. And we'll talk about which coaches are on the hot seat heading into 2025. But with that said, we're going to be doing this from worst to best. So let's hop into our number 8.
At number 8, we have, hold your breath, Metro, the NFC South. With those teams, we have Carolina, Atlanta, Tampa Bay, and NOLA. Now I want to mention the teams on the rise, the teams that are steady, and also the teams on the decline. Then we'll go into a deep dive. Teams on the rise, we have Carolina, the Panthers, the Atlanta Falcons. Those are our two on the rise. Teams that are steady, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then teams on the decline, we have the New Orleans Saints. Metro, do you want to start at the bottom and build our way up with New Orleans? What are you thinking, sir?
Yeah, let's start with New Orleans. So New Orleans is one of the harder ones to actually rank, but I think putting them in the ones in the decline makes a bit more sense than on the rise. This team has gotten worse, feels like almost every year since Drew Brees left the team, and this year it's kind of the bottom right now. This is the worst they're going to be. The good thing for New Orleans now is it feels like this team actually has a direction with a young quarterback, with a new head coach, and a lot of new changes, but they're, you know, despite all that, they just seem to make a move every so often that's like, hey, we're going to try and compete. But it's just like, you guys are not there. Like the Justin Reed, Chase Young contracts just kind of make no sense. So that's why they're still kind of in that decline. I think this time next year, if we were to redo this video, maybe they'll be in steady, maybe they will be in rise. But for now, they're a team that just not getting much better. Plus, the quarterback room does not really inspire me right now.
No, not at all. This team's very strange. Like on defense, you have some older pieces that are, I'm not saying should be let go because that's harsh, but I mean, if we're trying to rebuild, let's turn over and get some youth in there. And maybe they develop on a rookie contract, but we're holding on to these guys who are a little bit more expensive, and they're not going to be with us when we're competing here in a couple years, hopefully. So weird direction there on defense. On offense, looking up, right? You got Kellen Moore in the building now. Hopefully one of these quarterbacks can figure this out. But a lot of question marks here for NOLA. That's why we have them here on the decline. And I hope they get absolute long shot here. Trying to put some faith for NOLA fans. I hope they get Arch Manning in the draft. Arch Manning wins the whole thing. I don't want to seem like bias here. I'm not a Texas guy, but I have a Texas hat here because I'm in the area. Metro is, though. Texas wins the whole thing. Arch goes to the draft. They get first overall pick. He goes back home to NOLA. That'd be a sweet little story. Metro, anything else here on the NOLA?
No, New Orleans, this will be an interesting season. And then when it comes to Tampa Bay, we put them in steady because they're not really getting better, but they're also not getting worse. They're just a team that's contending for playoff spots and maybe one day Super Bowl. So that's why they're in steady. And you're going to notice kind of a trend as we go along with who's in the steady. And when it comes to teams on the rise, look, Carolina's getting better. It feels like they're heading in the right direction. And for Atlanta, 2 new pass rushers enter the building, and now you get this nice young new quarterback in there too, so they feel like they're also on the rise. I feel like those ones are fairly self-explanatory.
Well said, man. I got nothing else to say on those two teams. You want to go into our other subcategories here?
Yes, let's talk about it. Do you want to talk about them being a young division?
Yeah, let's run it through it. We either have young or old, prime or older. This division is extremely young, as Metro just mentioned. Carolina, your quarterback's Bryce Young, extremely youthful, a new direction for the team. And then, of course, got Michael Penix Jr., an extremely young quarterback for Atlanta. Baker's not a spring chicken, but he's not old either. And then Noah, all they have is rookie quarterbacks. And, of course, it's more than just the quarterbacks. But when you talk about the direction of the team, there's a certain window for these guys that is usually led by the people snapping the ball or catching the snap of the football. So we went young right here. Future. Anything else you want to say here on the young? Or am I
future? No, you're good. There's a lot of young pieces with these teams, right? Bryce, Tet, Leggett, all the guys defensively are all fairly young in Carolina. Atlanta, you got a whole new Bijan, Drake London, Pitts, Michael Penix. Of course, there's veterans along the way, but for the most part, the main guys are all fairly young. New Orleans has a lot of new young pieces now. Tampa Bay is still fairly young. So for the most part, it's a pretty young division that those guys will be in the league for many years.
Yes, sir. For our next category, we have future ? This could be bright, steady, decent, sketchy. We went with decent. This is because a lot of it comes down to these teams on the rise. Are they actually rising? Is Carolina or Atlanta taking that next step forward? That answers all our questions for this category. We think it's decent because one of them has to hit, but also we'll see it. We'll believe it when we see it, right? Because they actually got to take that step. Noah seems like they're in some turmoil here for at least another year. So that's why we have us here right in the middle. Anything on that, Metro?
Yeah, future. When I think of future, I think within the next 5 to 6 years, like what are these teams going to look like? And for a lot of these teams, there is pieces there, but are these pieces going to be good enough to get you to a Super Bowl? None of these teams right now really scream title contenders in the future unless just some guys really break out. So for now, we put decent just because these teams look like they're heading to become competitive teams soon. But they're not quite yet there to where we can call the future of this division like super bright, like some of these other ones we'll talk about. So, yeah, they're a decent in terms of their future, and I think that there's some pieces to be excited about here.
Yes, sir. Let's go on to Super Bowl contenders. Do they have any in the division? We said maybe one. Of course, we're referring to the New Orleans Saints. All jokes, guys. We're talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We're talking about
got me there too. I was like, we are.
What do you mean? That was kind of dirty, you guys. Sorry, guys. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They feel like they have the power to for sure go to the playoffs and do some damage in that run. But are they going to win the whole thing? I don't know. That's why we said maybe one compared to most of the other divisions. What's your thought on Tampa Metro? You think they can actually go the distance?
It's tough to say that I think they can, but I think they can maybe enter the conversation. They feel pretty far from being Super Bowl contenders. They feel more like playoff contenders. So, we put them in there to give them the benefit of the doubt, but realistically, they're not really Super Bowl contenders, at least not like true contenders.
Very nice. Very well said, sir. Now for playoff contenders, we do have two. This is going to be Tampa Bay, obviously, and then also, does Carolina or Atlanta emerge? Or Metro, did you have one team in mind you think would specifically emerge?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's Tampa Bay and Atlanta. I think Carolina's defense is just not good enough right now, but I think Atlanta has the pieces to at least maybe fill in inside the wild card. So it's like two, it feels more like one will make the playoffs, but maybe two could find their way in there.
Well said, sir. And then finally, we have potential coach hot seats. Doesn't mean it's necessarily hot, but could be in the future. We have ATL right here. I would also argue that our man Canales for Carolina, too, is in this conversation just because we haven't seen it all come together for sure. But, Metro, what do you think right here? How hot is this seat?
Yeah, it's not very hot, but if the Falcons go 8 or 9, 9 and 8, and Penix doesn't look that great, I could see a world where the head coaching seat within Atlanta kind of starts to, turn up just a little bit. I think generally he's fine. I wouldn't be overly concerned about it, but, it's potentially going to get a little bit hotter. So right now I believe in Canales a little bit more. So I feel like Canales has a bit more patience, whereas with Atlanta, they want to make the playoffs. If they don't make it, maybe you start to hear some buzz around that. So I put Atlanta, but they're not like burning hot. It's just, it's sort of simmering right now. It could simmer a little bit.
Very good breakdown, sir. Anything else on the NFC South before we go to our 7th ranked division?
Nope, let's move on.
Let's keep it trucking. On to our 7th place division, we have the other team in the South, the AFC South, consisting of Houston, Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Indy. Now, for what teams are on the rise, steady, and decline, on the rise, we have the Houston Texans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Teams that are steady Freddy, we have the Tennessee Titans and the Indianapolis Colts. And then teams on the decline, we said none. We feel like we're at least making improvements or staying the course with our teams. Anything you want to call it here specifically before we go team by team, Metro?
Yeah, so we talked a bit about the steady category being mainly for contenders. Obviously, Tennessee and Indianapolis are not contenders. They're sort of the weird teams here where they don't feel like they're getting significantly better, but they're also not getting much worse, right? Especially heading into this next season. So for Houston and Jacksonville, they're clearly getting better, right? New coaches for Jacksonville. Houston, you obviously have a lot of young guys still developing. Tennessee is kind of this weird mixture of kind of some older pieces mixed with a lot of young guys too. But the young guys haven't really shown a whole lot. Like Cam Moore hasn't played a snap yet in the NFL, so it's kind of hard to say they're a team on the rise. Indianapolis, they just threw away Anthony Richardson, so it's like, who knows what's going on there. But their roster's pretty steady. Like they're pretty set. It just kind of comes down to quarterback. So they kind of made it difficult. You can maybe make the argument that Tennessee's on the rise and Indy's on the decline. It's just kind of hard to say right now. So to make things a little bit easier for us, we just put them in steady. So that's why Tennessee and Indianapolis is there. Houston, Jacksonville, they're pretty self-explanatory. Those two teams are clearly getting better.
Let's go to Jacksonville real quick. You talk about take Travis Hunter, trade up for this guy. Came out of nowhere on draft day, and now you're rolling in with a lot of hype. Can T-Law take the step forward with Liam Cohen? This team's an absolute hype train. Like, if you are a 7-on-7 team, we're feeling really damn good right now. If we are a football team playing NFL football, we got a lot of questions left. But they are a team on the rise without a doubt. What are you looking for out of Jacksonville in this year, Metro?
Yeah, I want to see Trevor Lawrence look like the first overall pick. That's the big thing this year. Just, can Trevor look good? Can they stay healthy? Maybe you can get something from Travis Etienne. That'd be obviously a nice little discovery there. Liam Cohen, you want him to work out as a head coach, but the big thing is just Trevor Lawrence.
Well said, man. Finally, we have Houston here. Team on the rise. That is their category. They're also the most competitive team here. No surprise to anybody. Houston, man, they got a damn good defense. They got an absolute no-fly zone. C.J. Stroud is stout, as we know. He had a quote-unquote sophomore slump, but he won a playoff game. So who's right there? This team's fantastic, man. How far do they go? There's some absolute juggernauts in the AFC, so we will see. Anything you want to call out on this Houston team, Metro, because they can go the distance.
Yeah, they got enough talent to really contend. Both AFC and NFC South were really close when it came to flipping the two. Like, you can make the argument the NFC South is a little bit better, but I think Houston's I think they're one of the contenders in the AFC. Definitely not the favorite, but they're one of them up there. So hence why I think they're a bit higher than the NFC South.
Two divisions with two clear winners, at least in our eyes.
Yeah.
Do you like Houston more, or do you like Tampa Bay more?
I actually like Houston more. I think Houston has a better chance of winning this division pretty comfortably. I think Atlanta could really make some noise against Tampa Bay. Like, Tampa Bay's, they always feel like they're better than what they actually are, and then Tampa Bay wins like 10 games and barely makes it in. I think that could happen again this year, whereas I think Houston gets to probably 11 or 12 wins and clearly wins the division here.
Well said, man. Next, we have young or old for the division. This squad's pretty young. You got T-Law, who's a younger quarterback, first overall pick a handful of years ago. C.J. Stroud is extremely young in their squad as well. A really young defense that is being built up through the draft, and also some excellent trades. And then you got Tennessee. They just got a brand new quarterback, Cam Ward. And then also you got Indy.
Anthony Richardson.
Anthony Richardson, of course.
My guy.
Of course. That's Metro's guy. He's his favorite quarterback. But obviously it's more than the quarterbacks. But overall, these are young teams that have built through the draft to make who they are, to make them so successful. So that is why we have them here in the young category.
Yeah, even though Daniel Jones is the starter for Indianapolis, Richardson will always be QB1 for me. even if Richardson does not work out there, Indianapolis will draft a quarterback next year, so they're going to stay young. It's a very young division, a lot of like new faces from 5 years ago. When you look at this division, back when Deshaun Watson was running Houston, just it's night and day from today to like 2018, 2019. Just so many new faces here. So very young division, and this also kind of ties into our next one in terms of future. It's a very bright future for this division. A lot of teams developing quite nicely. No teams on the decline. Either you're kind of staying the course or you're really improving. And I think as time goes on, when Indy gets their quarterback rolling, when Tennessee gets Cam Ward rolling, you might see 4 teams all on the rise here. So that'll be pretty fun when we get to that point.
For next, we have Super Bowl contenders. We only have one, and that's going to be the Houston Texans. What would you rank them in the AFC Metro when it comes to contention? Are they fourth, 5th, 6th, 7th? What do you think?
I would put them, they're not ahead of Baltimore. They're not ahead of Kansas City. They're not ahead of Buffalo. I think the conversation is, do I take Houston or do I take Denver? I'll take Houston because they have the playoff experience, but Denver is like they're neck and neck with them. So I'll go Houston at 4, I suppose.
I respect that. 1 Super Bowl contender and 1 playoff contender. But we believe in Houston. We think they're very strong. So that's why we have them pretty much carrying this division into 7th. Last thing I want to mention, the hot seats in this division. Not super hot, but definitely on the cusp. In Indy, this is starting to heat up for sure with their quarterback controversy. And then also in Tennessee, we need to win some games here, Callahan. Yes, it's Cam Ward, and this is a really raw roster. I don't think the wins are going to come this year, but I will tell you in 2026, Titan fans will be ready for a new change of pace, and you better show up.
Yeah, last thing I'll say, I think Jacksonville could end up as a playoff contender, but it feels a little bit far-fetched with that defense. I think Houston is really the only playoff contender, like serious one, but it wouldn't shock me if Indianapolis gets there too. I think Indy has the argument as well there.
Well said, man. Let's go to our 6th overall division. We have the AFC East. The teams in here, we have the New England Patriots, the New York Jets, the Buffalo Bills, and the Miami Dolphins. For the teams on the rise, we have the New England Patriots, who just had an excellent draft class, the New York Jets, teams that are steady, but this team's an absolute contender, the Buffalo Bills, and then teams on the decline. Oh, the Miami Dolphins. It has been a whirlwind of an offseason. Let's start with Miami Metro. This is a team that it felt like nobody wanted to be there. What is the culture in this building? It is showing. It is shite. When you can't get a locker room to buy in, you're having guys getting traded away. Jalen Ramsey wants out. Tyreek Hill doesn't want to be there every other week. The vibes are bad, really, really bad. If they start winning a couple of games, now stuff changes really quickly. But overall, the culture's a mess. Can Mike McDaniel pull this out his ass? What do you think, though?
It's tough. Miami's in a really sticky situation here. Their secondary is god-awful. Their defense is consistently injured. You got to have faith in Tua, Tyreek, and Waddle. Like, those guys can get the task done, but what does the offensive line look like? They got some running backs. They're a decent team. They just kind of scream mediocre to me, and they've just gotten worse every single year because of some of the contracts they've handed out. They're really handicapped by Tua, so this is just a Miami team that feels like they're just kind of in a perpetual state of getting worse and mediocrity, and like you said, culture's not really great there either, so really tough look there. And when it comes to Buffalo, not much conversation that needs to be had here. Buffalo is Buffalo. They got Josh Allen. They got all the guys they want on defense. They're probably the 2nd or 3rd favorites in the entire NFL to win it all next year, so that's why they're steady. And then if you want to take on New England and New York.
Yeah, New England, man. This is a team that's going to be scrappy this year. You got Mike Vrabel in the building. He's going to kick some ass, get those boys in line. Then also, I got a good feeling about Drake May. I'm not saying he's going to be a world beater, but I do think he takes a step up this year with some brand new weapons. Kyle Williams, Stephon Diggs, Travion Henderson. It's going to be a fun team that plays good defense, eventually plays good defense and is a little bit dangerous on offense. I like the direction they are going in. Your thoughts on New England Metro?
Yeah, young team, added a whole bunch of new young players. I love their quarterback. I love their head coach. I mean, they're building in the right way, and I think within the next few years, though, the Patriots will be back into the playoffs as they usually are. So it was nice to get a little bit of a break from New England the past few years, but they're right back in the thick of things here in probably the next 3 years.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll get there eventually. Baby
Yep.
steps, but we will get there. And then final team we didn't mention here, the New York Jets. We have them here on the rise. Metro, this feels like a bet on a Aaron Glenn at head coach. We think he's going to steer the ship in the right direction. And also, we got some good talent on this team. We made some good acquisitions. Justin Fields is the best quarterback in the NFL. All jokes. But this team does have some real talent on it besides that. What are your thoughts, though?
Yeah, it's really hard to categorize the Jets because in some ways they get worse, in some ways they get better. I honestly think they took a step back this year, which I thought actually is why I have them on the rise. They made moves to get younger and get some youth in the building. I thought they had an excellent draft, and I think they're starting to go in the right direction, but it's gonna be a long process here. So it's gonna be interesting to see if they can really get going these next 3 years. But they got to overhaul this roster the next couple of seasons.
They're doing it the right way, and that's what's important. So we gave them the tip of the hat and said team on the rise. Now let's shift over to our next category, young or old. We have this division looking older. Metro, when you look at this division, what screams out to you that they are senior citizens?
Yeah, I mean, they're not senior citizens by any means. It's not like they're old, but, you know, Drake May's young. Justin Fields is now on his third team in the NFL. Josh Allen's a veteran at this stage. Tua is not like he's 50 or anything, but, you know, he's getting up there in age too. And let's be honest, the concussions are kind of a big deal for him, so we'll kind of keep an eye on that one. But when you actually look at the rosters, New England's kind of in their own little subcategory. They're like obviously the young team on the block. The Jets have a lot of guys in their prime. Buffalo's got a lot of guys in their prime. Miami's a little bit of an older team too. So we say they're older, but they're not old. They're just they're not young, right? That's just the best way to put it. So outside of New England, of course, New England is pretty dang young in their own right. But outside of them, it's a very kind of, you know, middle-aged teams here that honestly probably all should be competing, but really there's only one competing this year.
The way you were talking about athletes and their age feels like
I know
conversation people have. Like, I'm not young, but I'm not old. There's a middle ground, but you said it perfectly, man.
Well, it's weird because we're calling 27-year-olds old people. It's like, no, they're young. It's just in the NFL. When you hit 27, you're unk at that point. You're a veteran, so they're older, I guess. We should have called this unk. That's what we should call this category. They're unks.
Do that right now. Unk game.
I'm game for that.
Approved. Unk status. Their future, we have it here sketchy. This is led by Miami. This team has a lot on the line this season. Questions for Tua, questions for Tyreek. If they work out, we're feeling a lot better with the direction of this division, but they're the kicker for this sketchy feelings. The Jets are making the right choices and the right decisions with the right direction, but does it work?
Yeah.
Everything has to actually come into fruition. We need that to be answered. And, like, I would bet everything I have, my everything on New England working out long term, but we just don't know. So a lot has to change for this division. Buffalo's just fine. Y'all are perfect, Pookie. Keep doing your thing. But we have sketchy right here. Any other thoughts on that, Metro?
No, I think you kind of hit it straight on there. Miami, like, they are the definition of sketchy. You just don't know what the team's going to look like in the next few years. The Jets, you want to buy into what they're building, but they still have Justin Fields at quarterback, so we just need to see how they build the roster around him and how they go about their business, because it's the Jets. They always screw things up, so we'll see if they can do things properly this time. New England feels like they're, you know, heading on the right side, and, you know, look, Buffalo, they'll be contending for the next few years, but you know, what happens when the contracts catch up to them? I guess we can have the conversation when those do happen, but for now, they're pretty straight on. So really, it's kind of Miami and the Jets that kind of throw off this division. New England's obviously steering in the right way, and Buffalo's also there. But yeah, for the most part, it's pretty sketchy, obviously outside of Buffalo for the most part.
Speaking of Buffalo, how many Super Bowl contenders are there in this division? Well, there's simply only one, and that is the Buffalo Bills. MVP quarterback. Team is pretty damn stacked, and they're ready to go this year, ready to make a run at the title. Metro, what would you rank them in the AFC?
They are number 3 for me. I got Baltimore, Kansas City, Buffalo. I still think Kansas City is a little bit better because I just trust Mahomes in the fourth quarter to blow everyone's hearts up yet again. That's just what they do. And I would say Buffalo's right there with them, but it's like really neck and neck. Each one of those teams, any of those 3, I think can win the AFC, and it really wouldn't shock me.
Very nice. Next we have playoff contenders. We have two right here. This is an interesting one for the two. It's not going to be the Jets, I could tell you that right now. Do you have the Patriots or the Dolphins taking this away?
Honestly, I would lean the Patriots. I just think Miami's secondary is just so questionable. They got a ton of questions they have to answer. They could enter their name in the bucket. It wouldn't shock me. But I went with New England. I think they have the coaching staff that could surprise some people. I think they have some new improvements to the offense, and the defense should be really good. I kind of look at the Patriots in sort of a similar light to what Harbaugh did last year for the Chargers, where I could see them having a pretty quick turnaround that gets them into a 7th seed. That wouldn't be terribly surprising, but really it's just one for sure contender and then like one if things go their way.
Very well said. Finally, we have the hot seat category. We only have the Miami Dolphins. Mike McDaniel. Listen, man, if he comes out in September and wins 3 games, 4 games, starts rattling off wins, everyone shuts the hell up. I'm just going to call it what it is. But if you start losing it in September, when are you going to win with this team? So that's when it gets really bad really fast. Do you think they would move off Mike this year if they didn't win 8 games?
Yes, I think they would. I think they would go in a completely new direction. I think Tyreek's off. If I'm Miami, if I don't win 8 games or make the playoffs, I'm out with McDaniel, I'm out with Tua, and I'm out with Tyreek. I'm resetting the entire roster, rebuilding the culture, rebuilding this team's identity, and getting some dogs on this team. No more finesse guys. We're getting some dogs out there.
Oh, an absolute 180 of the culture?
Yeah, 100%.
I kind of like it. I kind of really like it. Any other thoughts on the East before we go to our next division?
Nope. Let's go ahead and hop into the next one.
Let's cook. Division number 5. We have the AFC North. I will tell you there's a tier jump here from 5 to 6.
Yep.
Now we are in big boy range. In the AFC North, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens, the Cleveland Browns, and the Cincinnati Bengals. Teams on the rise, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Teams that are steady, we have the Baltimore Ravens. And then decline, the Browns and the Bengals. Let's start at the decline with the team in the Cincinnati Bengals. Everything on the surface feels fine for this NBA team with their big 3. They got Higgins, Chase, and, of course, Joe Burrow. Everything seems fine and dandy if you're playing 7-on-7, but you go below the surface, you're not paying some of your defensive players, and there's a lot of problems besides those big 3. Metro, why do you think there's so much on the decline?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a team that made it to a Super Bowl just a few years ago, and it feels like injuries have really hindered them since, but this defense took such a big step back last year, and they do not look very good right now. They have so many holes on their roster, poor offensive line, poor basically everything on defense. It's almost like this team is being ran by whoever was the Brooklyn Nets commissioner or general manager when they had KD, Kyrie, and Harden and those guys. Like this is the definition of a big 3, and those big 3 are going to carry this team to a couple wins this year, maybe even the playoffs. But in all reality, it's not going to amount to quite much. This Bengals team is just so hollow in a lot of ways. They just have 3 guys, and that's about it. Now, if they bring Hendrickson in, it'll help their defense, but I don't think it's going to completely change things. So they are unfortunately on the decline, which is a shame because they have some generational talents on their roster.
It feels like the move. When you build a football team, we got to make this a complete thing. When you make a move like Cincy did, just paying those 3 players to the maximum contracts pretty much, which I respect. I get it, keep your talent, but you got to spread it out on defense too. You got to help the O-line. You got to go all the way around the team. It's not just the big 3. We're kind of putting ourselves at a ceiling here and being okay with it. Now, if you're selling jerseys and you want revenue, that's not so bad. You're always going to be in the conversation. You got an awesome quarterback who's always going to be in headlines. I understand. But if we're talking about a Super Bowl mentality, that window's gone, in my opinion, for at least a good 2 years while these contracts even out. But do you think that's unrealistic, Metro, or do you think I'm playing stupid? What do you think?
No, it's going to be really intriguing. I think later in the season, when we get to like week 13, if Cincinnati is who we think we are, if Cincinnati is who we think they are, we got to do a rebuilding video of Cincinnati. That video would be a lot of fun, by the way. Like
so much fun.
They have such a great 3 players. It's just going to be like, how can we retool this roster to actually make this team competent? We got to drop that at some point. If they end up being shitty on defense, that'll actually be a super fun video.
If they get 40 scored on them in week 1, we're making
Oh,
a video
dude, we're dropping it week 2. Yeah, we're dropping it week 2. If they get 40 point by Joe Flacco and the Browns, it's rebuild your franchise already, buddy. We got
dead ass, guys. We will launch that. I promise.
That's great.
Speaking of their opponent, yeah.
Yep.
Got Metro. We're in the wavelength, man. We're in the zone now. We're cooking with gas. Next we have the Cleveland Browns, who they face week 1. Team on the decline. Ugh. Have you seen the preseason? Have you turned on your TV? Have you opened your phone and looked at your apps? I sound like an absolute old person here saying all that, but here we are. If you don't live under a rock, you know the Cleveland Browns have been under some turmoil, a lot of quarterback controversy. Your running back is in the headlines for bad reasons. I think the head coach is smart, but that's kind of it. And there's talent on defense, but there's so many question marks and a lot of bad vibes in this building. But Metro, what do you think?
Yeah, this is a Browns team that's just I don't know how to feel about them. They have been in this perpetual state of needing a quarterback, and yet again, here we are. Even though they have 2 rookie quarterbacks, you don't feel like either one of them are really the answer for their long-term future, and the roster is just not good enough to support a young quarterback right now, which is crazy to say because they've been like this for years and years and years. It's shocking they're still at this stage. So unfortunately, they're somehow in the decline despite never really having too much success. So it's unfortunate. The Browns are just consistently here.
Man, the Browns, you use your 3rd-round pick on Dylan Gabriel. You use your 5th-round pick on Kenny Pickett. And now you use it also on – you traded for Kenny Pickett with a 5th, but then you also use it on Shador.
Yeah.
What are we doing? And none of these guys are working? None of them have worked. That is asinine to me. I don't know how – go ahead.
And they spent their 2nd on Quinshaw Judkins.
What the hell are we doing, scouting department? This is not right. This is not right. The direction is not going well. I don't get how you make a play for 3 different quarterbacks and none of them work out.
I got one more for you. They decided not to take Travis Hunter and went with Mason Graham. Like, what are we doing? You have a generational talent right on the board there. You say, we don't need the generational guy. We have talent all over the team here, even though they need a receiver more than anything on the team. I don't know. We'll see. This is a lot of questions.
Death being pointed at Earth. Who do you want taking that final shot? Give me Deshaun Watson on a max guaranteed contract, baby. That's what the Browns said a couple years ago. And here we are sitting
guaranteed
in the
as well, even though he was in legal trouble, which is insane to me. It looks worse now, but even at the time, it was like, what are you doing? This guy's in serious legal trouble, and you're gonna give him a fully guaranteed contract, knowing he's gonna get suspended. They said, "Yep, we're doing it." They're so stupid, dude. They're silly. They're trolls, dude.
I feel bad for Browns fans, but I don't feel bad for the Browns front office because, just a damn mess. Enough dunking. Let's go on to the next team. The team that's steady but really, really good. The Baltimore Ravens. MVP caliber quarterback. Fantastic roster. Defensive talent for days. Love their head coach in John Harbaugh. I don't know, man. Ceiling is the moon for this team, but what's the Metro?
Yeah, they're Super Bowl contenders. They're my favorites to win it. I think they're your favorites as well.
Sorry, sir. Took a sip of water. On to the next team. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're going to be a team on the rise.
You didn't answer my question.
What'd you say? Sorry.
Are the Ravens your Super Bowl contender or Super Bowl favorite?
Yeah, they're my favorite. I go to Baltimore Eagles. That's my bad. I blacked
out,
started drinking my water, and then came back, and I was like, oh, shit.
You're good.
They're my favorite. What about you, Vetro? Are they your favorite?
They're my favorites, too. We can move on to Pittsburgh. Look, Pittsburgh's interesting. They're an older roster, but you got to say they're on the rise because they're better than what they were last year, and you got to think they're going to get a young quarterback, so it's better than Kenny Pickett.
It is better than Kenny Pickett.
So that's why we put them on the rise, but you can also put them in steady too. We just said, put in the rise for the funsies.
Let's have some fun here. I personally like the move they did for Jalen Ramsey. Somebody's got to cover Jamar or try to cover Jamar Chase on 3rd and 10 and just keep him contained for 2.5 seconds. After that, good luck, buddy. But I respect it. Going from a safety to a cornerback that could potentially cover him, I think it was a good move. But they did get better. What's you, though? Do you like the trade?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it made sense. I mean, you want to get a little bit closer, a little bit more physical near the line of scrimmage. I think Jalen's a better player than Fitzpatrick. Plus, you got a tight end out of it too. Miami's just, I don't know what Miami is doing. It's just silly at this point. But you know, it wasn't a game changing move for me. It does make their corners better, but it makes their safeties worse. So it didn't really do too much to sway my opinion. But he's probably gonna play in the nickel, which is gonna be a whole lot of fun. He's gonna be playing right by that line of scrimmage, making some plays in the backfield, which is where I think he really will succeed. So it'll be fun to see him in a Pittsburgh uniform as well. But when we talk about the young/old category, we put them all in their prime, right? Really, you got Lamar's in his prime, Joe Burrow's in his prime. A lot of Cleveland is in their prime, like Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, and then Pittsburgh has a lot of guys sort of exiting their prime, but still enough years left in them to be in their prime. So for the most part, this is a bunch of teams that are still in their prime.
And then for the future, with that being said, it's pretty steady, guys. A lot of teams that are right in the middle of their best days ahead. It's not going to change. Yeah, in Pittsburgh, we got some people going, not usually in tech you say end of life, but that's a little harsh here. They got to end a career here around the corner, especially in Aaron Rodgers. He's got maybe 1 year left. So this team's pretty steady, or this division's pretty steady for the future. What are you laughing about?
You're talking about end of life. Aaron Rodgers, you got 1 year, buddy.
1 year and you're done. Let's go
great.
to Super Bowl contenders. We have two in this, and we're going to go with the Baltimore Ravens, and then Metro. Who do you think for the second Super Bowl contender?
Hey, Pittsburgh. They're very, very light Super Bowl contenders. They're more playoff contenders than Super Bowl contenders, but if Rodgers has a throwback type year, then, it could happen. But right now, they're more like Super Bowl contenders light. Baltimore's the Super Bowl contender.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Let's go to the playoff contenders. We have three in this division. It's pretty deep across the board. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens, and I can't imagine we're going with Cleveland here. Let's go with the Cincinnati Bengals. Their big three are good enough to get them into the show, but once we get to the show and we play the Baltimore Ravens, it's probably going to be wraps.
Yeah, good luck there. Three teams that could all make the playoffs. I think it'll likely be only two. My pick right now is Pittsburgh, Baltimore. I'd be a little surprised if Cincinnati got in there.
Yes, sir. I would too. And speaking of hot seats, the Cleveland Browns, obviously, Stefanski, I think he's a smart guy, and he had a lot of good effort last year trying to keep his team intact and not have the vibes go down. If you watch Hard Knocks, you can see him literally doing his absolute best. So I respect him a lot as a coach, but he will be on the hot seat after this season if things don't go well. Cincinnati, if we can't get to a hot start to save our lives or at least win 9 games with Joe Burrow taking the ball, what the hell are we doing? So that's why the hot seat would be there. But Metro, anything else on that?
No, I mean, look, both these coaches have a lot to prove this year. Stefanski a little bit less because he's just been dealing with incompetence his entire time there. But for Cincinnati, it feels like every year we have the conversation about should Cincinnati get a new head coach. I don't think the head coach should be on the hot seat. I think the management has done him really dirty with the construction of the roster and not paying the guys. But I think they will try to find a scapegoat, and I think that he will likely be it. So I think both seats aren't hot. I think both are kind of simmering right now. But there's a chance that if things don't go their way, that we really start to have some conversations.
Which team has the worst vibes? The Miami Dolphins or the Cleveland Browns?
Oh. Cleveland. I can't imagine. I can't imagine the vibes in that room. Just like all the media attention on Shador, which just adds to it. And Shador, look, credit to Shador. He's trying his hardest. He's looking like he's having some fun out there. But the vibe's got to be down. You're not going to be good. You're going to be contending for the first overall pick. You have 2 first-round picks, so you already know that. Just all the drama with the quarterback room, and they're not really helping it out either because they're dropping videos on their YouTube channels about the quarterback competition, which is so funny to me. It's like the most Brown thing ever. I don't know. There's just, your team's going to suck. At least with Miami, it's like, well, we have Tua. If he can stay healthy, maybe we can pass the ball around the yard. And look, Miami's going to win some games next year by like 30 points. So that'll be fun. So the vibes will be up then, and then they'll lose by 30 to like Buffalo, and the vibes will be down. So they're just going to be a bit of a roller coaster, whereas I just think Cleveland's just going to be depressed the whole year round.
Respectable. Great breakdown, sir. Let's go to our 4th place division, the NFC East. And this one's a sleeper, man. This division can get really good. In this division, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, the Washington Commanders, the New York Giants, and, of course, the Dallas Cowboys. Teams on the rise. The Philadelphia Eagles, it seems like they just got better. Washington Commanders, and then the New York Giants with a bunch of young talent. Teams that are steady. None, we think these guys are either going up or down, better or worse. Teams on the decline, the Dallas Cowboys. And let's start there. The Dallas Cowboys here on the decline. Metro is the Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
We're here in camp. Micah's not getting paid. We did a Hot Takes episode. I joked about this. He's actually not getting paid, and we can't believe our eyes. And it's not just that, but that is a massive part to it. You're dissing your quarterback before the preseason. As you said, he got hurt last year, and that's an effort thing on his end. Just a lot of bad, I hate using the word vibe so much because I sound like a hippie, but a lot of bad vibes here in this Dallas building. Metro, why do you think they're on the decline?
Yeah, I just think that Dallas is – I feel like Jerry Jones has sort of exposed himself this year in terms of what he is really trying to achieve with this Cowboys team, which is not contending for Super Bowls, and it's not any of that. It's just it's getting media attention. It's, picking fights with, what's the agents of players. And even though I actually liked what Dallas did this offseason by adding a George Pickens, bringing in some new running backs, adding to the offensive line, I thought they got better this year. It's pretty clear that they're very limited with the three guys making a ton of money. And when Micah eventually gets paid and all that drama goes away, you're going to have the highest paid defensive player in the league because you waited till the very end. You're going to have, I think, the third or fourth highest paid wide receiver, and by far the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And look, it's just Dallas can't stay healthy. They're consistently kind of in this weird spot of being good and being able to compete with some teams, but never really being able to actually go for anything. So, it's a shame. Dallas has a lot of talent. I think they're a competitive team this year, but I think within the next 3 years, they're just going to be set up for mediocrity in a lot of ways.
They feel a lot like, we mentioned this before, all your money's in your top three players, and you can't build a championship roster when it comes to that. So that's kind of what we got going here for Dallas. Like you mentioned, their draft was fantastic, and I like their free agency too. Just things are off here heading into the season. Teams that are steady, we have none. And then teams on the rise, the New York Giants. They got an excellent pass rush. They just got a fantastic pass rusher here in Carter. And then also, Darts looked pretty damn good. I'm not saying he's going to be an actual good starting quarterback, but if you believe in preseason hype like Kenny Pickett was a couple years ago, we are trending in that direction. Metro is the biggest Jackson Dart fan of all time, and he's here to tell you why he's going to win the Super Bowl.
Look, I've made it very clear, and if you've watched the videos the past couple of weeks, or even my videos, if you've seen any of my Giants videos, you know that I'm not the biggest Dart guy in the world. And that's partly because I'm a Cowboys fan, but it's also because I didn't think he was deserving of a first round pick. He's shut me up pretty good in this preseason. He was balling, and I don't know if you've seen some of the interviews, but Brian Dable put him in some actual game-like situations, and like the headset not working and 2-minute drives, and he was just he did his damn job. I mean, he was, I hate to say it, he was making some high-level throws. Now, it wasn't perfect. A lot of his throws were screens, dink and dunks. But, that's probably what you're going to see a lot of this year from New York. Look, New York's schedule is abysmal this year. They're going to get cooked all year long, and it's not their fault. Their schedule is insanely talented this year. So I don't think they're going to be a team that is above 500. But if this team gets to 7-10, I'm telling you, dude, if the Giants can manage to find 7 wins this year and Dable keeps his job, I would maybe be the Giants guy next year, which is a painful thing for me to say because I hate this team with burning passion. But they got some talent, dude. They have drafted well. They've hit free agency well. Great defense that, if Deontay Banks develops, that defense looks great. Offensive line is improving. Well, it's not improving, but it's okay. And then receiving core with Malik Neighbors. You got your quarterback now with Jackson Dart. So, yeah, they're going to be on the rise. Washington, you got Jaden Daniels. You're on the rise. Philly is stacked, so they're on the rise too. Philly is just perpetually on the rise because they do things right. And even though Jerry Jones has a front row seat to how Philly does things, He does not take any notes. That dude is sleeping in class. Just
Bro
like
is
me.
asleep at the wheel.
Yeah, he probably is. He's like 50, so. Oh, he's like 80. What am I saying?
Yeah, bro's hitting triple digits about this time. Speaking of age, young or old? We went with young here for the NFC East. You look across the whole landscape, all the best players for the most part are extremely young. Of course, Dak's getting up there in young territory. Lamb's really young. Parsons really young. Hurts is right in the middle, but that entire defense is super young as well. They got some vets as well, but a good mixture of young NFL draft talent. Young is the word of the day for the NFC East. And also, with that being said, their future is bright. Like we mentioned, you look at the Giants, they're a year out from doing some damage, okay? Yeah. They are 1 year out. Just hold on, management. Hold on, ownership. Give us one more year. Future's bright. I want to say for Dallas, I like their draft. I like their moves. It's
Jerry Jones. It's Jerry
Jones, bro.
Yeah.
Just put it down, man. But
Washington looks really good. Philly looks really good. Dallas, the light is on, but it's not very bright. It's like a flashlight that the battery's dying, but it still works a little bit. We can still get some light out of it. That's what Dallas is right now.
Lights are on. Nobody's home. Let's go to how many Super Bowl contenders are in this division? We have 2, being the Washington Commanders and, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles. Philly feels like almost a guarantee to get right back in this thing, as they didn't lose a lot of talent, at least in my humble opinion. And then Washington, I don't think they have the tools to get over the hump like they tried to last year. But as we saw, they took down a hobbled Detroit team with little to no effort. It was an ass beating. The score does not do it justice. They were giving us a run for our money all day long. But what do you say, Metro, on the contenders?
Yeah, I think Dallas is, maybe Dallas defensively can turn back the clock and kind of get their name in the hat, but they don't really, I don't know. It would take a lot to go their way. Washington, I don't think they're like top tier Super Bowl contenders, but they're in the conversation. Philly is the reigning champions, and they're just as good as they were last year, so they're going to be right back in the conversation. Giants, their schedule is brutal, so they're probably not going to be there either. When it comes to playoffs, I feel like we kind of laid it out for you. Washington, Philly, and Dallas are your playoff contenders. Now, if New York, if Jackson Dart really shuts me up and plays early, and he puts on the coat and he's cooking, then maybe the Giants could get in there. But I'm not going to predict that, nor do I want that, because I would be a sad, sad man if that happened. Especially if they beat the Cowboys, I might not show up to the podcast. I might just say, hey, dude. Solo recording day for you, buddy.
The bro's taking a bye week. I'll be like, welcome back, guys. It's Cade here. And, Metro went to Cancun for the weekend because he's not feeling so hot.
I'm going to need a vacation that week if we lose.
You deserve one. Speaking of vacations and people going to Cancun, hot seat, we have the Giants and the Cowboys. Schottenheimer just got in the door, but he could be right back out if things don't go his way. Is that his fault? Hell no. But he will be on the hot seat if that happens. And then the New York Giants, our man Brian, he's done an excellent job at building his team back up, but will management let him stay for one more year? That's what it comes down to. This is the hardest schedule by far in the NFL. One more year is what they say. Metro, do you think Brian makes it through this gauntlet?
Gosh, it's tough. That's my as a Cowboys fan, I'm really hoping that management, has their patience really thin this year and decides to get rid of him a year before things might actually get going. Which that would be an all-time blunder in my opinion. I think now, granted, if the Giants just suck this year and they're bad, then fire Dable, right? Get rid of him. But if they show signs of competitiveness, if that offense has some life this year, I think you just got to give them one more year. Which I know it's like, that's the age-old quote, right? And it never works out. But I feel like it could really work for this team if they just, see this one through for one more year. If they show signs of life next year, if they can manage 7 wins next year, you got to give Dable some credit there. I think Dable would have done a great job because look at the Giants' schedule, guys. It is tough. That is a tough schedule, man.
If they win 5 games, but I'm on maybe not prime time. I'm serious. But if they win 5 games and I see them going toe to toe with badass teams, if I'm the owner, bro, run it back. What are we doing? You're seeing your talented team go toe-to-toe with some of the best. If we're not winning because it's a gauntlet of a season, that's just my opinion. I'm going ahead.
Can I quickly go over their schedule really quickly?
Mm-hmm.
Washington, Dallas, Kansas City, Chargers, New Orleans, Philly, Denver, Philly, 49ers, Chicago, Green Bay, Detroit, Patriots, Washington, Minnesota, Raiders, Dallas.
Holy ass beating, bro.
Outside of New Orleans, you're talking, gosh, I mean, outside of New Orleans and maybe Las Vegas, every team is a playoff contender here, like genuinely.
I have a question.
Yes.
I don't know how this scheduling thing works, but I think it's decided by like ownership and the commissioner. And I know Jerry Jones is a very large voice. Do you think Jerry's a little bit suspect and scared? So he's like, all right, folks, we're not going to let the Giants get good, and then we're going to blow this shit up. Let's give them the most diabolical schedule we've ever seen in our life. You think that's possible?
Maybe Jerry has some maybe we give him too much hate. Maybe he has some actual pull behind the scenes. That'd be a great like scandal. I would love that. I'd be here for that. If there was a Jerry Jones scandal for rigging the Giants' schedule, I am here for that. I need to watch this immediately.
That's a damn good owner, let me tell you.
My owner. That's my owner.
Anything else on the NFC East, Metro?
No, let's go to number 3.
Let's go to the West. In third place, we have the NFC West, consisting of the Seattle Seahawks, the Arizona Cardinals, the Los Angeles Rams, and the San Francisco 49ers. Who's on the rise, steady, and decline? On the rise, we have Seattle and Arizona. Steady, the Rams, and decline, the 49ers. Let's start at the bottom and work our way up. The 49ers are an older team that have had a lot of vets on defense leave, and maybe they weren't the superstars they used to be, but it does matter. And also, a lot of your key pieces are pretty injury-rigged. Like, Kittle's pretty he's pretty hobbled most of the season. Trent Williams is struggling to stay healthy in these days. He's a fantastic player, though. CMC, obviously, he's got, like, triple arthritis in his ankles. It's a rough going there. A lot needs to go right for this San Fran team, and that's just all I got to say. What about you, Metro?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions with this team, with contracts, with age, with injuries. They got a lot to prove this year, and we'll see. I think Purdy just got his big contract, so there's a lot to prove there. When it comes to steady, we both believe the Rams will be pretty good this year. They're a team that's kind of already in their prime, ready to try and compete for titles. We obviously have heard all season long about them competing with Philadelphia, so hence why we had them at steady. And then Seattle, it feels like over like a week span, they deconstructed their whole offense and put together a brand new one, which was pretty fun to watch. And we're both pretty big believers in Arizona, so we think both those teams are, we think they had a really good draft, really good free agency, and are trending in the right direction.
Yes, sir. Then, for young and old, we have us right in the middle of our prime. You have teams like the Rams that are a mix of young talent on defense and also Matthew Stafford, who's pretty much senile at this point, which makes me feel senile as well. And then the 49ers, you got some really old pieces as well, but Seattle's super young. The Cardinals feel super young. A lot of upcoming players on these squads. The future is steady. The Rams feel like their window's closing in pretty quickly here with Matthew Stafford's health. So do the Niners, but the Arizona Cardinals and Seattle are on the rise, and we feel pretty good about those two. Super Bowl contenders, we got one in here that's going to be the Los Angeles Rams. Where do you have them ranked in the NFC, Metro?
I think I have them number 2, Philly number 1. I like LA more than maybe Detroit. Detroit would be the flip right there, a bit of a coin toss. But I would probably say number 2, especially if Stafford does come and he's fully healthy. I like them more than Washington. I like them more than Minnesota, Chicago, Green Bay. Detroit is sort of the interesting conversation point. So is Tampa Bay. I would probably pick the Rams versus both, though. So I'll put them number 2. I'm pretty high on them this year.
Very nice. Ooh, this is my favorite part. Playoff contenders. We have 4. Go ahead. You got something to say?
No, you're good. Go.
We got 4 out of 4 playoff contenders. San Fran, wow, they're kind of on the decline. Their schedule is cake. I mean, an absolute cakewalk. It's pretty much like playing in the Big 12, to say so. They're going to win a lot of games this year, and can they get into the race? If they get in the race, I think they're kind of getting their ass beat personally, but they can very well find their way in the playoffs. The Rams, sign, seal, deliver. Go ahead.
Can I do the same for San Francisco and see their schedule real quick?
Mm-hmm.
We got Seattle, New Orleans, Arizona, Jacksonville, LA Rams, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, Houston. Pretty tough stretch between these 4 games. Mm-hmm. New York, LA, Arizona, Carolina, Cleveland, Tennessee, Indy, Chicago, Seattle. I mean,
Joke.
if they can win 50% of these relatively tough matchups, they're going to cruise to 11 plus wins probably.
Easily. Absolutely easily. Rams are locked in. The Cardinals were pretty big on the upswing, and then also Seattle is sneaky good this year. Watch out for this team. You got anything else you want to say on Seattle before I go to who's in the hot seat?
No, I really am a big fan of what Seattle's been building. I love everything I've seen. I'm a big believer in their OC. I'm a big believer in what they did this offseason. I think Darnold is a bit of a question mark at quarterback, but I just think he's a good fit with what this team wants to do. You know, just be a robot out there. Don't make mistakes. You're going to have guys running wide open. You got JSN, Cooper Kupp, hopefully a good ground game, and hopefully an offensive line that takes steps forward. I also believe in that Seahawks defense, so I like what Seattle's building there. They're not quite title contenders, but for sure they are playoff contenders. And, we talked about Arizona a bit earlier. Just kind of comes down to Kyler and Marvin Harrison. Can those guys really get going? Because if they can, it completely fundamentally changes that entire division.
This guy's so good at his job, man. Thank you very much, Metro. Let's go on to our hot seat. Holy hell, we got the San Francisco 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. Now, when we say hot seat, obviously, this is Kyle, okay? This guy's a badass. We're not saying hot seat, but it is going to heat up. It is going to heat up, okay? It's getting a little bit steamy under there. We're going from like a 1 to like a 3 on the stove. We're on our way. Not saying canned, just saying trending in that direction. Do you have any thoughts on that, Metro?
I think if San Francisco really has a bad year with this schedule, I could see San Francisco just sort of saying, hey, let's hit the reset button here. You know, we have our quarterback of the future, but we're going to reset with some youth here. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Shanahan's job is pretty, for the most part, safe. I think he's a really sharp offensive mind. If Shanahan were to be on the open market, there would be so many suitors out there for him. I would pray to God that Dallas would fire Schottenheimer for him. Sorry, Shotty, I'm giving him zero chance. I hope he's a great head coach. But if Schottenheimer's a bum, then I'm having some trade talks for Shanahan. I think he'd be great in Dallas. But no, I think it's like you said, it's at like a 3 of 10. It's not hot, it's not boiling, but it's cranking up a little bit. And if he has another bad year, I think it goes up to like a 6 or a 7 or something like that.
Thank you, sir. Guys, it is time for our non-football question of the day. But first, while we do love making awesome content for you together on this channel, we also make our own content as well. That man, MetroSports, smiling at you with the thumbs up, makes awesome, and I mean awesome NFL analysis content. Go subscribe in the description down below. Check out his stuff. He is fantastic and wicked smart. And if you want to change the pace, more NFL draft content, I'll be your guy doing mock drafts during the season. I'm an absolute sicko. Go subscribe to Cade Rathbone down in the description. And also, if you're enjoying the video, drop a like. Thank you very much. Metro, it's time for the non-football question of the day. This one's pretty deep. You ready?
All right, I'm here.
What is your favorite color?
Very deep conversation we're going to have here today. I've always been a blue. I know, very basic, but in my childhood, it was always light blue. As I've matured, as I've grown older, I'm more of a sky blue type of guy. I'm a very much, give me like kind of I like it a bit darker, right? Like a really deep sky blue. That would be my favorite. What about you?
That's so cute. I like that, Metro. That's adorable.
I'd
probably say like green. Probably this damn hat, not this hat I got on, but like Spartan green, Michigan State green.
Ooh, well, that's your school colors, though. My school colors were like lime green and bright orange.
Yeah, that's kind of rough.
Yeah, I was like, really? My UT Arlington, which is right down the couple miles away from me, beautiful colors. They got blue, they got all the cool colors, and I got stuck with like lime green and bright orange. Orange is cool, but like not bright orange.
Is it burnt orange or is it bright orange?
It's like a full orange, not like Texas Longhorns orange, not like our channel orange, like straight up bright orange.
Yucky. No,
it's rough, and the school's merch is trash. So I don't wear it. They need
Thank you.
They need me to step in and design some merch for them.
Step up, Metro. Be the Batman for this school. Thank you for entertaining me. Let's go back to our football conversation. Now we're going to division number 2 here in the entire NFL. This is another tier jump. We had a tier jump from 6 to 5. I think there's a tier jump from 3 to 2 personally, and I think Metro would agree with me. Here we go. The AFC West ranks in number 2. Who's in that division? I got you if you live under a rock. The Denver Broncos, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the KC Chiefs. Now, who's on the rise, who's staying steady, and who's on the decline? On the rise, we have the Denver Broncos, the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Las Vegas Raiders. Who's staying steady? We got the KC Chiefs holding this down, and we have nobody here on the decline. Let's go back to KC, okay? Obviously, guy named Mahomes, pretty good quarterback, and an awesome coach in Andy Reid. Anything else that makes you think this team's going to stay steady, Metro?
Yeah, I think they're steady for at least one more year. I think if this upcoming season, if Kelsey retires, which I think he probably looks like he will, and if Reid retires, which it wouldn't shock me if his years are numbered, I think you might start to see KC as a team on the decline just because guys are retiring. But they're a really talented roster with a lot of really good pieces. They still have all their main guys still there. They also have some young youth now within the receiving core along the offensive line. So they technically got sort of worse this offseason, but I don't think they lost anything particularly irreplaceable or anything like that. And still, I think you have your main core group of guys. So that's why they're in the steady and not in decline. As when it comes to our teams on the rise, it's pretty clear and obvious. Las Vegas, aggressive offseason to fix up their issues. A lot of fun weapons with Genty and Bowers, so they're in the right direction. Denver, we're big fans of them. And Chargers, you're an even bigger fan of them, so I'll let you talk Chargers and Denver.
Yeah, man. I respect Jim Harbaugh. I think he's a fantastic coach, and he's taking storm in this league. Herbert played really well last year. Uniquely, he's a gunslinger in his past, but last year he only had like 3 interceptions, about 20-plus touchdowns. Really reeled it in and got hyper-efficient. This year, I think he lets it go. They got enough weapons out there out wide, and I love Omari and Hampton in the backfield behind this O-line. I think it's going to be pretty solid, and I like the direction of this team.
What about Denver?
Denver, bro. Denver's got the best damn defense in the league. Bo Nix, you can say he's going to take a sophomore slump. That could potentially happen. Okay, I'm not going to be obnoxious and say that won't happen, but it is out there. But last year he played great, man. He was phenomenal. I believe with Sean Payton that he only improves. And this O-line's great. The receiving weapons are damn good enough. They got Ingram, who's probably going to get a bunch of work here in this offense. This is a really good squad, and I can't forget Harvey, of course. Harvey, a super slept-on running back. How much damage does he do for this team here in 2025?
For sure. And when you talk about is this a young or old division, we decided it was a young division. Yes, there's some guys that are veterans still, but Denver is a very young and improving team. LA, they got some guys who are all kind of in their prime, but they still feel fairly young and ready to go for multiple more seasons. Las Vegas has young weapons, but an older quarterback, so that's kind of an interesting dynamic. And then KC's also a little bit like more in their prime with some older guys, but they also have a good mix. So they're a young-ish division, but they're also like prime-ish too. So we lean young, but they're also like kind of right in between young and prime. So we went with young. And of course, because it's a young division with a lot of great pieces, hence why they're number 2. Division's bright, man. This division, which has been dominated by Kansas City for the past, 7 years, 8 years, 10 years at this point. Like, there's now legit competition. And one of my hot takes in our hot takes video was that somebody in the AFC West not named Kansas City would win it within the next 2 years. And I think that's really looking possible either this year or next year.
Well said, man. This team's going to be fun. This division's going to be fun as hell to watch. How many contenders do we have in here? Count them on your hand. 1, 2, 3. Everybody but the Raiders, just because they got a lot to work on still. Chargers, Denver, and of course the Chiefs, as always. These teams can make real damage and real waves in the playoffs. I would look forward to some awesome in-division matchups in the playoffs as well. Metro, how would you rank these 3? You said Chiefs are at 2 for you. Where are the Chargers? Where's Denver?
If I was to rank the 3 in the division in order, I'd go KC, Denver, LA. But if we're talking in the entirety of the AFC, I got KC as my number 2. I have Denver either 4 or 5. It's them or Houston. They're really interchangeable for me. And then I think the Chargers are probably right behind either the Texans or the Broncos at my 6.
I love it. Playoff contenders. We got 4 out of 4 on the board here. The Vegas Raiders got enough star power to go the distance if they want to and make the show. How much do they do when they get in the show? We don't know, but they got enough talent to get there. What are the odds you think this happens? What's your over? Like if I put, let's say they win over under 8.5 games. Do you think it's under or over?
I lean under. I think that defense is terrible on paper. Right, just being honest. But if they can find ways to just kind of navigate their way through it, it's possible. They're very light playoff contenders, but they can theoretically make it just because I do believe in Geno, Brock, and that entire offense. I just don't think they have the defensive firepower to really get going. But, they are technically contenders, but very, very light playoff contenders.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Then for the hot seat, we have 0 out of 0. Everybody here is sitting pretty nice and pretty. Any final thoughts here on the AFC West?
No, this is a division that I think is extremely bright in terms of their future. I genuinely think you got 4 teams that within the next 5 years, I wouldn't be surprised if, multiple of these teams win the division, not named Kansas City.
Let's go. It is time for the number 1 division in all of football, in all of the NFL. And at the top, it's the king of the North. It is the NFC North, consisting of the Chicago Bears, the Minnesota Vikings, the Green Bay Packers, and the Detroit Lions. Who's on the rise, who's staying steady, and who's on the decline? On the rise, we have the Chicago Bears, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Green Bay Packers. Who's staying steady? We got the contenders themselves, the Detroit Lions. And who's on the decline? Not a single damn team in this division. Let's start at the air quotes bottom. We're going to the steady team here in the Detroit Lions. Steady is a pretty good word to describe them because I like their pick here. I like their picks in the draft this year personally. I think they made some good moves, some good signings in free agency, but you lost both your coordinators, so it kind of balances and cancels out. Metro, do you think that makes a big impact in their win total this year, or it's right about the same?
I mean, this was a 15-win team last year. Am I correct?
Best ever, yeah.
Yeah, so they're gonna. It's pretty unlikely they'll be 15 this year. I think more like 13 or 12 is more realistic. So, sure, you can call them a team on the decline, but I mean, let's be honest, they were a weak 15-2 team heading into the playoffs because of injuries. So, take that as you will. I think this team, if they can manage to stay healthy, they'll be right back to where they were last year. I do worry about the coordinator situation, but I'm not too overly concerned about it. I think they have the guys that can fill the role in, but there might be some volatility there, so we'll just have to wait and see. I'm a big believer in Detroit. I still think they're one of the best in the entire NFL, one of the best in the NFC, and for sure they're still up there as true contenders for sure.
Next, let's discuss the Green Bay Packers. This team was feisty last year, man. They came to play. Jordan Love at the helm now, looking like a pretty solid quarterback. Of course, he can improve, but looking pretty damn powerful. Josh Jacobs has proven to be a worthy asset and a trendsetter on this running back crew, And this team's up pretty good, man. Their biggest weakness here is the cornerback room, and it is a pretty glaring weakness with Jair out the building. But besides that, we're feeling pretty solid all around with a really deep O-line as well. What's your X factor for the Green Bay Packers, Metro? Like, what is the tilting point for this team?
Probably Matthew Golden. What does he look like in his rookie season? Look, last year they were able to survive with bad cornerback play, with all the injuries they had with Jair Alexander. So I think they'll be able to survive it again this year. I still think it's a pretty major issue, but the addition of Matthew Golden is going to be a huge portion of this offense. I think they have decent weapons. They really tripled down on offensive line. That offensive line is really talented with some really good pieces there. And Jordan Love's now into his 3rd year starting, I want to say. So he's really more comfortable going and ready to fully go. So I think Green Bay is on the rise, but they also could have been put in steady as well, if I'm being honest. But they're more on the rise than steady, in my opinion.
Next, we have the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings are a damn good roster that have kind of plugged and removed Sam Darnold and plugged in J.J. McCarthy. Metro, why do you see this team on the rise compared to most?
Yeah, well, they have cap space, right? Without Sam Darnold on the roster, you have a rookie deal in J.J. McCarthy. They spent the money by addressing the interior with 2 from the Colts, Kelly and Fries. Then you had Javon Hargrave and Jonathan Allen and Isaiah Rodgers and Jeff Okudah. I mean, this team was aggressive this offseason, and I thought they got significantly better. But again, you're talking about a rookie quarterback. mean, let's be honest, he's a rookie at this stage. So there's going to be some volatility. There's going to be some bad plays, some good plays. We just have to be kind of patient with him, allow him to go through the ups and the downs. And if he can do so, then this team is going to be right back in the dance this year. They're not going to be a 14-win team this upcoming season, but they were a pretty suspect 14-win team last year, if we're just being honest. A good team, but 14 wins felt a little bit fraudulent, if I'm being honest with you.
Fraudulent's an excellent word. Next team that might be fraudulent with the hype in mind, the Chicago Bears. They are definitely on the rise. They had a kick-ass free agency period, acquiring some big interior O-line pieces. And also, they had a damn good draft, man. You get Colson Loveland at 10 overall for your tight end. You go get Luther Burden in the second round. This offense has kind of got no excuses. Caleb's got to develop over the season. But they definitely improved by their roster standards for sure. And, of course, what if we got Ben Johnson, kind of the biggest thing here. They definitely took a step forward in the right direction. Metro, I'm going to let you talk about them. After I'm going to ask you what's the over-under. I'm going to put you at 7.5 win for the Bears. But go ahead and say what you got to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit I think you hit it head on there. This is a team that they added a lot to their offense. They added an edge rusher. You added, in my opinion, the best head coach candidate, the best offensive mind available in Ben Johnson. So, check mark there. You rebuilt this team with an offensive identity. Offensive line is completely brand new. Caleb is a young quarterback that I really believe in. By the way, Emmanuel Acho is roasting Caleb Williams for wearing ankle socks. Like, what are we doing, guys?
What?
He wore ankle. By the way, Caleb Williams has zero drip on the field. All right, he's got negative aura, but they did. I think
he's got
ESPN.
drip. What are you talking about? Bro's got drip.
Well, I don't care about the fingernails. I don't
care either. But he's got drip. Like that,
he's got like everybody's wearing white, like arm sleeves and knee things, whatever those things are called. And he's wearing black. It's just stupid.
I love it.
He's just a weird guy. Caleb is a weird guy, but in a good way. But no, I think Caleb's talented. I think. Oh no, back what I was saying. Emmanuel Acho, buddy, chill out, dude. He's just wearing socks. He was really calling him like, I wonder if I have the tweet up, but it was stupid. He was out there calling Caleb Williams like, I don't know, a bad teammate for wearing different socks. Like I don't know what we're doing out here, man. Like there's so many different things you could get on to Caleb Williams about, but that one was a little bit silly. Let me see if I can find it.
Okay, Acho. You're gonna mess with Joy Taylor and then start talking about another man's socks. Like, how about we calm down for a season? Just like take it off the gas pedal. We're under a little bit of heat already. All right, let's get out of the headlines and back into the humbleness area.
Yeah, I don't know. Something's wrong with him. But no, I think God, I want to find this thing. Is so funny. Let me see if I can find it here.
You take your time, bro. For over under, I'll answer my own question. 7.5. I'm gonna go. This division is damn tough, man. I'm going to take the under, but I think they literally finish at 7 wins, get a great draft pick, and now we're all crying. And the true answer is Minnesota or Chicago has to lose. Someone's got to come in last. Who's it going to be? It is the battle of Minnesota with an excellent roster, and can Caleb propel his roster to be better than Minnesota? That's what I'm looking for in the NFC North this year. But, Metro, have you found what you're looking for, my friend?
I found reactions to it. Let me see. I found reactions.
You good, bro? I can keep yapping.
Yeah, keep going. Keep going.
I can keep yapping. Is this division young or old? I love the kitty cat. Is this division young or old? Oh, man, they're extremely young. Vikings have an excellent roster and just acquired a bunch of great pieces as well. The Bears are like babies, man. Besides some O-line pieces, they are extremely young across the board. Detroit has a bunch of good young talent and are in their window to win games. They're pretty much in their prime. And Green Bay, they got some older pieces, I guess, but they're not like unk or anything. They're still young and on track. So this division is young, and with that, the future is extremely bright, especially for Minnesota and Chicago, who are on the up and coming right now. Metro, still no sign. I'm going to keep cooking. The Super Bowl contenders, we got 3 of them, okay? Detroit, Green Bay, and Chicago, Minnesota. Minnesota's roster is insane, brother. I mean, absolutely insane. So they are definitely going to be in the picture if McCarthy can be a 20-touchdown passer and under 10 interceptions. If he's hyper-efficient and just game manages like he did at Michigan, you can win some serious games and make a run right here. Now, playoff contenders. The Bears can make the dance. Could this be the year we see 3 teams from a division, maybe even 4? Is that even possible for 4 teams from a division go to the playoffs? 4 teams from a division go to the playoffs. We can have all 4 go, man. The Bears have talent more than most in the NFC. Just the divisional games have to even out in a way. Everyone's got to split even for that to even happen. If anybody gets swept, you're probably out of the picture. And then the hot seat, pretty much none, man. Ben Johnson just got there. He's an excellent coach, but we'll see how he does at head coach. Kevin's fantastic. Of course, LaFleur is going to be pretty safe. And then who's going to mess with Dan Campbell? No one's touching that guy. So extremely safe on the hot seat scale. But this division, stacked. Them in the AFC West, I'm expecting 1 contender in the big show, in the Super Bowl, from each of these divisions, in my opinion. But Metro, do you think it's going to be something different, or do you predict that as well?
I think within the NFC North, I think 3 teams make the playoffs. I think it'll be Minnesota that sneaks into the 7th seed. I think Green Bay gets the 6th seed. And I think Detroit wins the division. I think Chicago could get there, but they feel a little bit away. So I wouldn't say that they are right yet there. I think for the most part, everybody else though is straight up in the conversation to make the playoffs. And when it comes to Super Bowl contenders, I think it's Green Bay feels right on the cusp. I think Minnesota's on the cusp, and I think Detroit is the favorite.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Guys, this is our full divisional rankings. Let's go back from 8 to 1 one more time.
I couldn't find the Acho thing, by the way.
You couldn't? I saw you shaking your head. You seem pretty sad. We'll find it someday and bring it back on the next episode. At number 8, we have the NFC South. At 7, we have the AFC South. At 6, we got the AFC East. And here's a bit of a tear jump. Going to number 5, we have the AFC North. At 4, we have the NFC East. At 3, we have the NFC West. One more tier jump into this exquisite elite tier. At 2, we have the AFC West. And then 1, the NFC North. Guys, these are our rankings. What are yours? Drop them in the comments down below. We want to hear from you. You are the true fans and you know best. Let us know down below. Also, if you watch this far in the video, if you'd consider dropping a like, it helps the algorithm out tremendously because the YouTube algorithm is dumb as hell. And if you like it, it actually 10x the productivity on this algorithm. So thank you very much. We appreciate you more than you know. Guys, have the best day. We love you. Metro, get us out of here, sir.
Thank you guys for watching. Peace out.